Hello, my dear students. I hope you all are good. Today we will start with the first chapter of physics named Physical Quantities and Measurement. In class 6, you have learned the measurement of four basic quantities in our daily life, namely length, mass, time, and temperature. In class 7, we will learn about physical quantities, measurement of volume, measurement of area, density, measurement of density and speed. Physics. Physics is a subject that deals with physical quantity. And physical quantities are all those quantities which can be measured are physical quantities. Physical quantities are of two types, fundamental and derived quantities. So all measurable quantities, all those quantities which we can measure are physical quantities. I'm saying we can measure. So what is measurement? Measurement is a process in which we compare the unknown quantity with a fixed known quantity. But it should be of same kind. Like if I'm asking you to measure 5 meter, then it should relate it to length only. It doesn't mean it is related to degree Celsius or Kelvin. It should be of same kind. Okay. So measurement is a process of comparison of the given unknown quantity with a fixed known quantity of the same kind, called the unit. How we get to know that it is of same kind? With the help of a unit we understand. Yes, it is of the same kind. So magnitude is equal to number of times the unit is contained in the quantity into unit. Physical quantities can be divided into fundamental quantities and derived quantities. So fundamental quantities are those physical quantities that cannot be expressed in terms of other quantities. It is independent on its own. Example, length, mass, time, temperature, luminous intensity, electricity, etc. And derived quantities are those quantities which depends on fundamental quantities or other quantity for their formation. The physical quantities whose defining operations are based on other physical quantities, we call them derived quantities. Example, area, volume, density. The derived quantities are the dependent. They depending on other quantities. While fundamental quantities are independent in nature. They do not depend on any other quantity for their formation. Now this is a list of fundamental quantities. The length, mass, time, electric current, temperature, amount of substance, luminous intensity. Length we measure in meter, symbol is m. Mass, kilogram, kg. Time, second, s. Electric current, ampere, A. Temperature, Kelvin, K. Amount of substance, mole, we write mol. Luminous intensity, candela, we write small c. So these are your fundamental quantities. Now what is volume? Volume is a physical quantity. What type of physical quantity? Derived one. So what a volume is? The amount of space occupied by an object is called its volume. In other words, volume is a measure of the size of an object. So the volume of a book will be more than the volume of an eraser. Liquid and gases also have volume. The volume of water in a bucket is more than the volume of water in a bottle. Similarly, the volume of air in a scooter tire is more than the volume of air in a bicycle tire. We measure volume in terms of, like here you can see we have given a formula of volume which is L into W into H, length into width into height, which is the volume of an cuboid. Now here's an activity which clearly demonstrates that the volume occupies the space. So for this we are taking a stone piece. So a piece of stone occupies space in a water. How we will demonstrate it? Take a glass tumbler. Paste a paper strip on it as shown in figure 1.1. Pour some water in the tumbler. Mark the water label on the strip as A. Take a piece of stone and tie it with a string. Suspend the stone piece inside the water in the tumbler. You will observe that the level of water has risen up. Mark the new water level as B. It suggests that the piece of stone has displaced water equal to its volume because it has occupied space in water. So, what I mean to explain here is that if every object have some space which it occupies, so when we take a glass tumbler in which we are not putting anything, we mark the level A there in the glass tumbler that up to this level the water is there. Now when we take a piece of stone and we just put it inside or pour it inside the glass tumbler, we see the rise in level of the water. Then we see or mark the level B there in the glass tumbler. We can easily check, we can easily show there in the figure only that the change in the level occur from A to B. Initially the water level was at A, but after pouring the piece of stone, the level of water reaches to B. The change in the level of water is because of the stone inside the glass tumbler. And how much the level get rises, that is the only space which is get occupied by a piece of stone. So piece of stone, whatever the space get occupied by that piece of stone, that much of water get rised up there in the glass tumbler. Now for measuring the volume of a liquid, we need a vessel. To measure the volume of a liquid such as water, milk, oil, etc., we generally use the following two kinds of vessels. One cylinder and other is beaker. Here you can see a graduated cylinder. Now how do we determine the volume of a regular object? We can determine the volume of a regular shaped object by measuring its length, width and height. By formula like length, width, height, if we are asked to find the volume of a cuboid. And if of a cube, then A cube is the formula for it. For a sphere, 4 by 3 pi r cube. By using this formula, we can find the volume of a sphere. For a cylinder, we use pi r square h. So these are fixed formula through which we can find the volume of a regular object. Now the second one is for an irregular object. Measurement of volume of an irregular object. The volume of solid of irregular shape can be measured by using a measuring cylinder by the method of displacement of liquid. Displacement of liquid, as in the previous activity figure 1.1, I had already explained you that when we place or pour a piece of stone there inside a glass tumbler, it occupies some space inside the glass tumbler and that much of water gets rises up there in the glass tumbler. That is a displacement of a liquid. That method is related to it. So second is each body occupies space equal to its own volume. So whatever the piece of stone I am pouring there in a glass tumbler, only that much amount of water get rise up. So each body occupies space equal to its volume only, and that much of water get raised up there in the tumbler. So volume of a body of an irregular shape is equal to the volume of liquid displaced by the body when it is immersed completely into a liquid. Third, the difference in the final level from the initial level gives the volume of the liquid displaced, which is equal to the volume of an irregular body. See figure 1.1 if you remember, then there was two levels, one A and second level was B. So when we subtract A from B, level measurement, you just put somewhere in your rough copy or there on a notebook, just write down the level, mark level A and note down at which level the water is there in the glass tumbler. And then after pouring the piece of stone inside it, when the rise in level takes place to the mark B, again note down that mark, that what is the measurement of B. Then subtract A from B. That is this. So the difference in the final level from the initial level gives the volume of the liquid displaced, which is equal to the volume of the given irregular body. After a liquid has been poured into a measuring cylinder, a curve can be seen on the surface of the liquid. This curve is called the meniscus, meniscus. It can be concave or convex. So to avoid the parallax error that we had taught you there in your 6th class, what is parallax error? The reading should be taken at the bottom of the concave meniscus and the top of the convex meniscus. So whenever we do the reading, the volume of a liquid by using a measuring cylinder, we always see the meniscus of the poured fluid there inside the beaker, cylinder, tube. that whether it is showing a concave meniscus or a convex meniscus for the accurate reading. To measure the volume of an irregular solid, we are taking a piece of a stone here. For this, the material required are a measuring cylinder, a stone, a piece of stone, water, and a long thread. A thread we are using to tie up a stone with it. Now, the procedure. See figure A. Fill the measuring cylinder with water and note the level. This is the initial level of the water, which is V1. Here it is 70 ml. So V1 is equal to 70 ml. Tie the stone at one end of the thread and lower it into the water. Make sure the water does not overflow. Fill the container with the water and calculate its volume with the help of ml marking. Okay, by putting an irregular solid inside the cylinder. Obviously, you will see the rise in level of the water. Now observe this level, this new level, and note the new level of water, which is V2, as here it is 90 ml. This change in level of water is the space occupied by the stone there inside the cylinder. So how we will calculate the volume of an irregular solid? The new level we are getting from the figure V2 is 90 ml. That is V2 is equal to 90 ml. And V1, which is an initial level of water there inside the cylinder, it is 70 ml. Now V2 minus V1, which is a difference of initial volume from the final, from the new level, we will get 90 minus 70 equal to 20 ml or 20 centimeter cube. So this is the volume of an irregular solid, that is a piece of stone. That is how we calculate the volume of an irregular object. Now area. The amount of surface covered by a closed shape is called its area. Its SI unit is square meter. Small areas such as that of a piece of a paper are measured in square centimeter. Large areas such as that of a city or a country are measured in square kilometer or hectare. Now area of a regular shape. The area of regular shapes such as square, rectangle, triangles and circles can be calculated by using specific formulae. Here I am giving example. Area of rectangle is equal to length into breadth. Now area of an irregular shape. Irregular surfaces such as the palm of your hand and a leaf do not have standard formulae for calculating their areas. A convenient way to find the area of an irregular shape is to use a square centimeter grid. A graph paper is the most commonly used form of a square centimeter grid. Now this activity helps us to measure the approximate area of an irregular shape. And here we are taking a leaf and a graph paper. So we need a graph paper, a leaf, pencil and a pen for it. Place the leaf on the graph paper and trace the outline with the pencil. There will be some complete squares and some incomplete squares within the outline. Count the number of complete squares and mark these with a tick mark. Now count the number of incomplete squares that are half or more than half inside the shape and also mark these with a tick. Mark the squares that are less than half inside the shape and mark these with a cross. We are putting a cross there because we will not count these squares because very less portion is coming inside the leaf. We usually count those squares which are coming more than half there inside the leaf. We do not count those squares whose only few part is coming there inside the leaf. So add up all the squares. That will be the total number of squares. And then find the approximate total area of the leaf. Like here we are taking 1 square of the grid is equal to 1 centimeter square. And suppose if we are getting 20 or 21 squares there in a leaf, we will multiply it with 1, that is 21 multiplied by 1 into centimeter square. So it will be 21 centimeter square. Approximation in an approximation we are telling it. So what we conclude from it? The area of the irregular shape can be measured by using a square centimeter grid with the help of a above given formula. For your convenience, I am repeating. Firstly, we will count number of complete squares and we will mark as tick. Now, number of incomplete squares, put a cross or a dot over there. Now, total number of squares, which is n, you count total number of squares, complete squares, plus all those squares which are coming more than half there inside the leaf. Add all those squares. That will be the total square. Now multiply these total squares with 1, because here we are taking 1 square is equal to 1 centimeter square, which is the area of 1 square. Now the approximate area will be the total number of squares multiplied by 1, that is the area of the, that will be the area of the leaf. Okay. Now here you can easily distinguish between area and volume. Area, first figure, amount of surface covered by a closed area. Area of a garden. Plain figure, 2 dimensions. Example, length, formula, length, breadth, and unit is square meter. And volume, amount of space contained by an object. Example, volume of a fish tank. It's a 3 dimension. For that we use the formula length, breadth and height, and it is cubic meter or meter. Now the remaining topics of the chapter are density, speed and numericals related to them. Before explaining density, I will explain you what is mass, weight and difference between them. Till then, stay home, stay safe, wash your hands frequently. Thank you.